Gentlemen, welcome back to the Alpha M podcast. Today, I've got a very special guest, a friend of mine that I've known for years. One of the first people I actually spoke to on the phone in the sort of men's style, lifestyle space. I actually believe I talked to you before I actually met Antonio Centeno and yourself, Brock, in Anaheim, California, prior to the first StyleCon or influential conference. Anyway, Brock is an entrepreneur. He has the modestman.com website. It is a blog. It is a shop. It is a place and a resource for men of modest stature. Also is running the incredibly popular YouTube channel, The Modest Man, with over 300,000 subscribers. And did I tell you to start a YouTube channel? Was that me, Brock, or was that somebody else?
You did. We spoke before I ever made a video. And then shortly after our first conversation, I made my first video, which I was just watching. It's really bad. Don't watch it.
But anyway, Brock, thank you so much for being here. Guys, Brock is an incredible guy that I've known for many years, and it's been incredible getting to know you better over the years at the Men Influential Conference. But the thing that really sort of intrigues me and inspires me about you is that you sort of identified a problem and you went after it in terms of solving a problem that I assume was something that you faced and I faced. We have something in common. We're about the same height. We're 5'6", or you're 5'6", right? Are you taller than me?
That's what I say on paper. Probably five and a half.
With the right shoes, though, or boots. My God, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, tell everybody a little bit about your story. I would like for you to go back a little bit, because there's probably a story prior to you actually launching the website and the YouTube channel. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started, and where it all came from.
Yeah, sure. And I want to say, you know this, but I want to say for everybody else, you've been an incredible friend over the years. So it's really cool to be doing this. I'm glad you have a podcast. I think it's a really good format for you. And yeah, I appreciate all the support over the years. So I'm glad to have you in my life.
What happened to your podcast? Actually, we'll get into your podcast in a second. Go on.
Yeah, we can talk about it. But so I have kind of like a weird story. I guess like a lot of people who are in this industry. I didn't set out to do anything with like men's style or digital media. I actually graduated with a psychology degree, and I had no idea what to do. So I worked various like corporate jobs. I worked in communications, worked in marketing for a while, and I knew I wanted to be my own boss. Like my dad was an entrepreneur, and I knew I wanted to do something. I just didn't know what. And actually tried my hand in the music industry for a little while.
Rapping?
Yeah, sure. Actually took a page out of your dad's book. I play drums.
Really?
Yeah. And so I quit my first job after like maybe 2.5 years in the workforce. And I tried to run a recording studio and basically like play music full time. And I like lost some savings. Like it didn't work out,
Yeah,
but it was fun. It was the first time I was like self-employed, and I liked that aspect of it. It just wasn't like, if I did it again, I would do it totally different. Like I'd do it through YouTube. I wouldn't try to run like a services business. You know what I mean? So anyway, that didn't work out. I went back to the corporate world. Basically, my friend got me a job at a software company, extremely boring. Like it was just a paycheck. Didn't last long. I lasted a couple of years at that, and I quit that. Went to South America for a few months. Started the Modest Man, tried to grow it. I think I had my expectations for how much money I would make from the Modest Man were like unrealistically high.
So wait a second. Hold on. Hold on. You started the Modest Man prior to leaving your corporate job, though, right? This was sort of like a side thing that you decided to start doing, or how did you identify that there was an issue or a need in what you were doing and what you were talking about? Because that's kind of one of the things that fascinates me as an entrepreneur. Like, what is the spark? What was that thing that said, okay, you know what, maybe there are other guys like me, or there are other guys that are interested in this, and maybe there's a market for it. And that's kind of how I started my YouTube channel. It's like, I don't know that much about style, but maybe there are other guys that just want basic advice on how to look better. So what was the spark that kind of got you thinking about there might be a market for this?
So when I was working, actually my first job, it was kind of a startup. Like people dressed really, not like business, but like cool, like kind of like cool business casual, smart casual. I did not. Like I was wearing ill-fitting clothing. No one ever taught me how to dress. I have great parents, but they never told me how to dress. And I remember there was one guy at work who was really well dressed, And I had gone to this meeting with my boss, and I brought my old like college backpack to this meeting. And after the meeting, he told me in, not so gentle way, get a real bag, and so I had this colleague who was like really well dressed, and I asked him, I was like, how are you so well dressed all the time? Which is, as a guy, it's like that's a bit of a pride swallowing, experience. And he was like, oh, I go to Nordstrom. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to those stores too. And he kind of casually mentioned he gets his clothes tailored. And I was like, I think that's the problem for me.
Was he also a short dude like us?
He wasn't huge, but he was a little more average, I would say.
Okay.
So he didn't have as many problems with fit, but still it was kind of a light bulb moment. And I remember getting my first pair of jeans hemmed, and it was like, from then on, it was just like this snowball. Like I got really into it. And at the same time, I was learning a little bit about like blogging and like the idea of like an online business or passive income. And so these two interests in like dressing better and having some sort of presence online kind of like converged in the Modest Man.
Are you happy that you went real targeted with the height aspect, or do you wish that you would have went more broad in the beginning? Talk a little bit about the choice to go sort of niche versus more overarching or broad.
I think at the time, considering the platform, a website, and the time, which was like 2013, I think niching down was a good idea. And I still think if I were to start a new website right now, I would go very niche. And then once you have an audience and a little bit of domain authority, like SEO power, you can expand from there. But like for you, like on YouTube, I think casting the widest possible net makes more sense than going super niche. So I think it kind of depends on your platform.
So you start the website. What year was it that you started?
This was beginning of 2013.
All right. So 2013, you start this. What did it start as? Just a blog? Were you monetizing it at that point? Did you have information products? What was the mechanism in order to make money? And that was, I'm assuming that was the goal for starting this website, was about, making money, passive income, and being an entrepreneur. What did you start doing in terms of generating income and revenue from this website?
Yeah, that was definitely the goal. I had almost no traffic at the beginning. I was just writing kind of like on my lunch breaks, evenings and weekends. I didn't have any ads or anything on the site. I had an ebook that I was selling for, I think, like $20 or something. And I actually remember the first time I talked to you, you were like, I'm going to make a video. You were like, you need to make videos, but I'm going to make a video for you, and I'm going to promote your ebook. I think that's still the biggest sales day I've had. was that video, because it's not
awesome.
it's hard to, I mean, you had a product for a while. It's hard to sell style advice. Like there's so much good advice out there for free. So that's never been a big like moneymaker for me.
Yeah, it's funny because I also sort of, when we were starting back in the 13s, 14s, 15s, it was very info product heavy. There were the sites like, The Art of Manliness, that was kind of, I think in all of our minds, like that was, the creme de la creme in terms of traffic, ads, making money. And when I started my website, I was thinking, oh, I just need to get a ton of traffic and I'm going to make money off of the ads. But I was like, okay, let me try making some type of information product. What I came to realize about myself is that I just hate writing. I'm not good at it. And I don't enjoy that mechanism or platform. And so so your first year in business, do you remember how much money you generated from this website? Because that's one of the things that you did you haven't done it in a while, but your YouTube channel was sort of go down the rabbit hole and sort of pull back the curtains on revenue in terms of your business. And I think that's incredibly inspiring. It's also scary. And the other thing that's interesting is that I think it's really helpful for so many people that are kind of thinking, about this entrepreneurial journey or maybe starting a business. You see what you see is these really successful people and how much, they're buying and flipping Ferraris every like 3 weeks or something like that. But that's not reality. That's not reality for 99.999% of the entrepreneurs out there. And so what did you do in terms of your first year of revenue on The Modest Man? Because it was primarily the ebook at first.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about affiliate links in a second, but what did you do?
I think it was about $6,000.
Boom.
Yeah.
You quit your job?
I tried and then I came crawling back, you know?
So
Yeah.
about $6,000. All right. So fast forward a little bit. How did you then sort of transition or pivot from the single solo information product to actually generating more revenue? What was the mechanism or mindset behind that?
Yeah, I mean, my background and what I was really interested in was SEO, which is search engine optimization. It's the best way to get traffic to a website right now, you know, on the internet, and it's getting traffic from Google. When someone Googles how long should my jeans be, if you're the first thing that shows up, you're going to get a massive amount of traffic from that. Once you have the traffic, you can monetize it in any variety of ways: affiliate, display ads, ebooks, whatever. Getting the traffic is the hard part. So I really went deep into SEO. Like I learned a lot about it. I was doing freelance SEO work. I had other sites that I was just building to experiment on. And I was kind of taking everything I learned and, working on the Modest Man. And, it started to work. I got zero traffic at the beginning. Eventually I was getting 5,000 visits a month and 10,000. And, now it's almost 500,000. So it's, a website, probably unlike a lot of social media platforms, it's very like linear growth. It's not so volatile or you have like a lot of virality built in. If you're doing SEO, you're just going to get more traffic over time. And that's kind of what happened. So yeah, that's sort of been the tactic.
Okay, talk a little bit about affiliates. And so for people out there, one of the hard things when you start a website or a business is, okay, well, how do I make money? Now, one of the beautiful things about, just getting started is there are all sorts of opportunities to generate revenue and refer people to products like that there weren't necessarily back in 2013, 14, 15. I mean, this has been, and it has grown, exponentially in terms of the ability to gain, affiliate money and revenue. So explain a little bit about what that affiliate model sort of looks like to the audience out there, Brock.
Yeah, I think the best way to explain it is like whenever you Google something, let's say you Googled best slim wallet, which by the way, if you Google that right now, pretty sure you're going to see the Modest Man. But if you Google something
Am
like
I?
that, I think you might. It should be top one or two. And then you click on that article, you see the list of wallets, and you click on one of the links. It takes you to like Amazon or somewhere else, and you buy a wallet. The publisher that published that list will get a commission. And a lot of people don't know that, but that's how the internet works, And so there's a lot of incentive to publish content like that. The other one that works really well is like a product review. So if you're about to buy like a new iPhone and you Google iPhone SE2 review, whichever link you click on before you buy it, that publisher is going to get a commission. So it's a good way to monetize content when you don't have a sponsor, or if you don't want a sponsor, or just in addition to sponsored, revenue. It's kind of a good passive way to monetize your content, especially if you're writing about like buying intent stuff, like product reviews and buying guides.
Talk a little bit about sort of the type of content that you're putting out. I think that it was so funny because I remember that I don't remember much, Brock, but one time you and I were on Tanner Guzzi's podcast or being interviewed, and you made a reference to, he was basically interviewing us about, being short and short style and tips and things of that nature. And you made the comment that nobody's told Aaron he's short yet.
Yeah.
It made me laugh. But that was a huge compliment to me because, growing up short, I think that, one of the downsides to sort of, I mean, society or whatever it may be, is that a lot of guys that are of shorter stature, they sort of almost view it as like a handicap, as, it's like, this is the reason why I can't do X, Y, and Z. And it's so sad to me that people really sort of have that mindset. What is sort of your sort of takeaway, and what is something and a tip that you would give somebody that is suffering a bit with self-esteem revolving around maybe their height?
Yeah, it's so varied because like on one side of the spectrum, you have people like you who literally it's like you still think you're like 6'4" or something, like, and then on the other side of the spectrum, you have people who it's like crippling anxiety because of their height, crippling insecurity. And there's a lot of people in between. I'm somewhere in between. And the older I get, the more I go to like, the more confidence I get. But I think the reason I focus on style for shorter guys is because it's out of all the things you can do to kind of like feel more confident about yourself, dressing well is pretty easy, all things considered. Like buying different clothes, learning about colors, getting your clothes tailored. It's not that hard compared to like transforming your body in the gym or something. So that's kind of why I focus on that advice. And then I think beyond that, like there's all sorts of things you can do, to increase your confidence, but you can't change your height. And so when people keep dwelling on it, like I just want to like shake them out of it and say, like, just stop thinking about it because you will never change it. And no one did anything to deserve it. It's like tall people didn't do anything to deserve being tall. Short people didn't do anything either. So like forget about it. Like just don't even waste your time and mental energy on it. And so I think that's why I kind of focus on like I say like the low hanging fruit of self improvement. And then once you do start dressing better, you're like, okay, I kind of want to work out now. Like I kind of want to go out and meet people now because you start to feel better about yourself. So that's kind of my goal is just for like, I just want guys who are like feeling bad because they're shorter to like feel cool, and feel good about themselves.
Absolutely. And that's the beautiful thing about style is that it's almost like visual smoke and mirrors. By choosing the right clothes, the right colors, the right fit, you can do even like hairstyle. I mean, you can do some dramatic things that makes a dramatic difference on, the appearance or your visual height. And so, Brock, what would you say would be your top one or two sort of tips for somebody who's a little bit shorter in order to look as tall and imposing and sexy as possible?
I mean, it's like it's played out, but like clothing fit is definitely the number one. You just got to, every time I leave my house, I see guys wearing baggy clothes that are too big. And it's usually too big, it's usually not too small. So I'd say like number one, size down, get a tailor. That's it. And then you can do stuff beyond that, like wear monochromatic outfits, there's other stuff you can do, get a better haircut, wear better shoes. But number one is just make sure your clothes fit. And if you do that, you're honestly going to be ahead of like 90% of guys.
So talk a little bit about the market of clothes for shorter men, because this is one of the things that growing up, and even I mean, really up until a few years ago, was the most challenging thing. Going into like the Gap or Banana Republic and trying to buy a pair of jeans. It was basically 30, like a 30-inch
Mhm.
inseam. That was it. And then, they started. Actually, I remember Express was kind of like the first sort of store that I remember that actually made like slim fit, dress shirts. There was, kind of Kenneth Cole was doing it, but it was this whole sort of like morphing and sort of changing of the guard at one point where it was like, okay, guys need to be wearing or want to be wearing clothes that actually fit them a little bit better. And then it's gotten better, but it's never really sort of caught on
Yeah.
as much as I would think it would. So talk a little bit about resources for guys that are a little bit shorter in terms of where to go to find clothes that are stylish and actually fit them and their body.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Express. That was the first pair of jeans that I got that I remember really loving. I was like, wow, I look cool in jeans. Um, so yeah, there are some specialty niche brands out there now that are making clothes specifically for shorter guys. And I think that's good if you really don't want to go to the tailor or if you have trouble with like outerwear, like leather jackets, stuff that's really hard to tailor. Um, I would definitely check out those brands. But honestly, a lot of mainstream brands are sort of taking notice now. Like you can go to J. Crew, Bonobos, Banana Republic, and can get 28 pants. Lululemon has joggers with 27 inseams. So I think mainstream brands are expanding their sizes a little bit because guys are just being more picky. They're kind of demanding better fitting clothing. But if you're not happy with what you're finding at the mall, I definitely recommend like the Peter Mannings and Ash and Erie's and under 510s and those brands because it's going to be a magical shopping experience when you try that for the first time.
It really was. And that was kind of like the first time I got experience with Peter Manning.
Mhm.
It was amazing. I was like, wait a second, I put on pants that actually fit me. And it was like, I almost started crying, honestly, because it
Yeah.
was like, you know what, this is, as guys that are a little bit shorter or have, difficult bodies, finding clothes that actually fit you and that you like and that are actually stylish, it's not the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about some of the struggles that you've gone through in terms of entrepreneurship, Brock, because I think that's one of the things that a lot of people have the idea or romanticize the concept of being in business for yourself, right? Oh, it sounds great. It's amazing, right? You get to work for yourself, how easy, right?
Mhm.
Talk a little bit about the downside or some of maybe the struggles or hurdles that you've had to overcome working for yourself and doing this business that you've done.
Yeah, there's There's a lot of them, to be honest. Like I was just looking at my notes from, I the first time I met you and Antonio and Ryan Masters in Anaheim. Like when I got back to my like hotel room, I just like took all these notes. I was like, these guys are awesome, and like here's the advice. And um, I remember like part of my notes, it was like you have to do more. Basically, like you have to make more content. You have to be on YouTube. You have to just do more. Like if you want to grow and do this full time, you can't kind of half-ass it and like write a blog post every now and then and hope for money to come in. So I think people like really underestimate how much work you have to do to replace a full-time income. And that's after expenses, taxes, you find your own health insurance. Like there's all this other stuff. So if you have a job that's paying $50,000 a year and you want to replace that with like YouTube or something, you have to make a lot more than $50,000 in ad revenue to replace that. And that's hundreds of videos, and I think people really underestimate how long they're going to have to work for free before they actually take any money out of their business.
100%, 100%. So, what would you say? Where's the bulk of your revenue coming from? What's the breakdown? Just so that people have an idea, if you don't mind sharing that, Brock.
Yeah. And by the way, I still do the income reports. I just put them on a different site. So I started a site called fulltimeblog.com, and I basically keep the income reports there just because it didn't really make sense to have them on the Modest Man anymore. But right now it's about half of it is from display ads from the website. And I use this company called AdThrive. They manage all the display ads.
Did you see a huge drop when COVID hit?
Very temporary.
Okay.
So there was like a week when COVID was just getting serious, and there was also a lot of like the civil unrest around BLM. And during that week, like advertisers just stopped spending money, but that recovered much quicker than I thought it was. And it's actually been like 2020 was like by far the best year I've had. In fact, February was the best month I've had this February.
This February?
Yeah.
This February?
This February. Yeah.
Wow. Why? What do you think? What is the reasoning behind that, do you think?
I think part of it is there's a little bit of a trailing effect with like affiliate revenue. So November and December are always really good months. And a lot of times you won't get paid out for 30 to 60 days. So sometimes your January and February for a website business, they're a little padded because you get some of that holiday money that actually paid out in January and February.
Okay. Oh, all right. So you said half is from the website in terms of display ads.
So half is from display ads on the website. On the website, another like maybe 30-40% is affiliate. And then there's, some sponsored stuff on the website. YouTube, like it's like 80% sponsored and then 20% YouTube ad revenue.
And so what percentage does YouTube make up of your income these days?
It's about a third. But since YouTube is, so I guess the way I monetize YouTube is with sponsorships. Like it varies from one month to the next. I can get 2 big sponsorships in a month, and that's going to be like a really good month for YouTube. The next month I don't do anything, and it's like peanuts because YouTube ad revenue for me at least isn't that high.
How do you maintain? This is I think a question that a lot of people that are thinking about creating content, whether or not it's YouTube or on a website, how do you maintain and balance sponsorship with credibility? I think this is something that, it's a question that comes up. And I think that a lot of people, when they start, they think, oh, I want to make money, sponsorship, just throwing it out there is one of the easiest ways. If you have an audience and you have a sponsor, to make a lot of money because, depending on your audience, depending on your niche, depending on your influence, some of these sponsors, will pay you a lot of money. Now, the difficult thing, and this is something that I had to figure out, and I think everybody has to figure out at some point, is how do you maintain that credibility, but still be able to promote, a product that you love? Being selective for me was one of the things that I had to learn, pretty fast. There was one product that I promoted, and I was like, I don't know that I feel 100% about this. And immediately I knew that it was a huge mistake, and I decided I would never promote anything like that again. How do you balance that, Brock, in terms of being able to promote products, but still maintain your credibility?
That is a really hard dilemma. And I'll be honest, like I was very much up against the sponsored content model for a long time. I mean, me and you have had conversations about this, and there was a long time where I felt like it was going to be hard for me, at least, to have integrity and also do a lot of sponsored content, which isn't true, by the way. That's just how I felt for a while. And I think the way that I guess the workaround that I have, or the way that I can feel good about it, is you just have to do it in a way that makes sense for you. So like, obviously don't work with brands that you don't believe in. I've done that too, and it doesn't feel good. And, it's not worth a few $1,000s, like in the long run. But I think for a while when I saw the way that you were doing your videos and integrating sponsors, and I thought that was the only way. Not only to integrate a sponsor, but also to actually do a video. My early videos, if you look at them, I'm literally doing the like your thing where you like move a few steps and like cut it there and like
Don't do
and,
that.
and I'm like trying to like yell at the camera and stuff, and like it's not working because I'm not. We have different personalities, and so after a while, and it wasn't working. Like the way I was trying to do sponsorships wasn't working. So eventually I just said, okay, here's the way I want to do sponsorships. I'm going to do them. I basically have two options. One is a non-dedicated video, and it's a commercial. It's like you would do a podcast sponsorship,
Mhm.
60-second commercial, and it's cheaper for the sponsor. And I do those all the time. Like most of my videos have that because it's easy to plug that into an existing video. The other kind is a dedicated video. It's much more expensive. I very rarely do these because most brands don't want to pay for it. And it's a fully dedicated video. So I actually craft the content around the sponsor. I did one of those recently with eBay, and it was awesome. Like we were both
Was
really
that
happy with
what
it.
did you sell? Was it a watch?
It was for their new certified watch, pre-owned watch program.
Really? I saw a bunch of people doing it. I was so jealous. I'm like, like everybody's getting
Yeah.
Rolexes. What
It
kind of
was
what?
like,
What kind?
yeah,
I
I
think
got
is that. Yeah, it was
the Explorer.
yeah, the Explorer. Exactly. It was a specific. I remember watching that video. I think you actually posted a question about a thumbnail for that video, right?
I did,
And
and
I
you
said,
responded. You
yeah,
DM'd,
yeah,
you're like that one. That's the one I
that one.
used. Yeah.
Yeah, no. And so you did a dedicated video, but that was, how did that work in terms of, because they're a big, huge, obviously brand. What was that process like? Can you tell everybody sort of what the process looks like in terms of working with a big, company or entity like an eBay?
Yeah, it's so when it's a big company like that, it's almost always through an agency. Sometimes it's even through two agencies. Like if you have a manager, your manager is talking to an agency that's running this campaign for the brand. So it's a lot of people, there's a lot of legalities, very detailed talking points. And this is an example like for eBay, they had a way they wanted to do it. And they basically said, we want you to buy a watch through this program and we'll reimburse part of it. And it's a watch up to this value. And this is an example of like pushing back on a sponsor. I said, listen, I can't just buy a random watch on eBay and promote it because my audience, they're going to say this is so random. Like it is just a commercial, but they know that I've talked about this specific watch a lot and I was going to buy it anyway one day. So if I could buy that specific watch and I'll cover it, this video would do well. And it would be a really nice integration. They agreed. And so it was, I felt really good about it. And it was very natural and it wasn't like out of left field for the
Yeah,
audience,
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that video, it took forever, like just the whole process of like buying it through the program, like getting it shipped and like making sure you hit all the like little legal talking points. And so that's one thing I do these days is like when I present a video to the sponsor, like sometimes I'll even send them the script because like I don't want to do edits or like do a remake, especially when it's a big brand like that. So that was actually, they were like a delight to work with. It was a really good project.
Yeah, I tell people that the bigger the brand and the bigger the agency, typically the bigger pain in the ass it is to actually work with them. There's much more legalese. There's much more, now that being said, I recently worked with a Citizen for a smartwatch,
Hmm.
and it was like, yeah, they didn't even really send talking points. They're like, this is the watch. There really wasn't even a link. And so it was a great opportunity to talk about them. It's funny and for people out there listening, one thing and tip I will give you in terms of if you want to create a business and actually make a living from creating content, the first thing I would recommend is do not start making content with the idea that I'm going to get rich off of this. That is something that I think a lot of people sort of are doing nowadays. because you see a lot of these successful YouTubers or content creators, and you think, oh, they're making all this money. And so you go into it with the idea of, I'm going to make money. When Brock and I started this, it was not to make, like hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was simply because we had a perspective. We had something that we loved that we wanted to share and create value and give value to the audience. It's about creating that message and putting content out there that connects with an audience. You will, if you can do that successfully and give value and give people information, you will figure out the money that will come. Don't worry about it, but don't start with that intention. The other thing I would say is, do not plant your flag in the ground that I am never going to do this. I am never going to do that. Because this and that typically has a funny way of changing. I'll give you an example of somebody who did that, who made an absolute mistake. And it was Ashley Weston, right? So Ashley Weston, she's got a great channel, her and Dorian. Well, they were going really hard on we don't, our advice is better because we're not ever taking any sponsorship money. Yeah. And so they really like hammered home on that, it's never sponsored. It's never sponsored. It's never sponsored. Well, then all of a sudden they decide, okay, well, maybe we can take some sponsorships. And so they did a sponsored review of white minimal sneakers, right, and one of which was paying them to sort of, and so if okay, so number one takeaway from that is, don't ever say you're not going to do it. You can do it in a tasteful way that is still consistent with authenticity and being, honest and all that. But when you try to actually do a sponsored video, do not sort of compare things and try to make it feel like it's not sponsored and then have the sponsor be the best. Lo and behold, you've got to really think through the process before just, throwing something out there.
Yeah, people aren't dumb. Like people see right through what you're doing, and it's better just to tell them. And that's like my kind of ground rule is like, I don't do sponsored reviews. That's it. So
that's right.
If it's a review, it's not sponsored. And if a brand wants like a focus on one product, I'll say, okay, it could be like an unboxing or something, but it's not going to say XYZ review, because I think reviews should be unsponsored, And I do think that some people get in trouble when they kind of plant that flag and they're like, wait a minute, actually you can make a lot of money this way. And I remember the first big sponsorship I did, it was right after talking to you. I talked to you about the Fifth. The Fifth had just launched. They were working with a lot of content creators. And I think you actually told me, you said charge $2,500 for this was my full package at the time. It was blog post, video, everything. He said, charge $2,500. And I thought, that's insane. Like, no one will ever pay that. That's so much money. And I remember telling them $2,500 and they didn't even bat an eye. They were just like, when can you have it? And I was like, man, that's like more money than I'm going to make from affiliate and ads and everything else for months, And I think that's really powerful, because if you do want to have a business, like, you have to have revenue, and if you want to buy a better camera and a better laptop, you have to have revenue. And sponsored content is a great way to get revenue. And there's totally a way to do it. You can sleep at night and the audience appreciates it even.
The other thing that I just want to throw out there is, your audience expects you to make money. Your audience expects you to be, financially at some point rewarded for the value and the content that you're putting out. And in today's world, everybody kind of expects, if you are going to be consuming some piece of content on the internet, they almost expect you to have some type of, spot or an advertisement or some type of something. It's not as out of left field as it was, 7-8 years ago. Now it's very common, and you don't need to be embarrassed about it. You don't need to, shy away from it. You just need to be true to yourself and the products that you're promoting. Talk a little bit about some of your biggest mistakes along the entrepreneurial journey, Brock. What was it like? Man. Was there like a mistake or two that you're like, man, why? Like, looking back, you obviously see it now. I think that's one of the valuable lessons, I think, for giving, people a little bit of insight into, some mistakes maybe that you made.
Yeah, I think one is just not, it's funny because I gave the advice earlier, like, you got to like stick with it. It's going to take a while. And I think for me, it was very, very hard to get into YouTube. And I just resisted it. Like, I didn't like the process of creating videos. I didn't feel comfortable on camera. And a few hundred videos later, now it's not that hard. Like I mean, I don't love it all the time. There's some days where I'm like, I don't want to make a video today, but it's just that the barrier of entry is so much lower. And I think I could have had 1 million subscribers by now, if I just had kind of took YouTube seriously earlier. I really resisted it. And I think, it's funny. I see myself doing that now with like TikTok and other platforms. Like, I don't really want to do that. Like, I want to focus on the website. I'm comfortable over here. So I guess the mistake would be sort of resisting these platforms that are inevitable. Like, it's inevitable. TikTok is going to be one of the most popular long-term platforms. I'm not saying you have to be everywhere, but don't ignore the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
I think one of the other mistakes I made was, and I still do this, is just not asking for help, not getting any help, whether it's paid or free. One example could be literally just asking for help, asking for someone like you to help promote. And another example would be like hiring a video editor. Like, that was a game changer for me, because I would spend 10 hours editing a video just because I'm, such a perfectionist, and it didn't even make it that much better, and now I have this amazing editor who does a better job than I ever could. And if I have a sponsor, like, it pays for the editor many times, so I think that was something I continue to struggle with, just letting go of stuff that I don't actually have to do. And then when I do let go of it, I just see the growth,
That's the same thing with me. And for people listening, that you're absolutely right. I am a late adopter to everything. The only thing I wasn't a late adopter on was YouTube. And it
Yeah.
was just because I had a video camera and a big mouth. And so that is one of the things that I have learned over the years, and I continue to learn. And you would think that at this point of being taught the lesson so many times that you wouldn't sort of resist, but you've got to be willing to get uncomfortable if you ever want to basically grow or succeed. Growth happens when we change and challenge ourselves, whether or not that's, emotionally, spiritually, professionally. That's when, for me at least, that's when I see the most growth, is when I step outside of my box. I was hugely against TikTok, because I'm like, I'm not TikToking. And then I remember a mutual friend, John Shanahan, was like, dude, I'm the alpha M of TikTok. I'm like, what? And this was back down in Houston when we all got together last year. And so, yeah. And I'm like, what, this TikTok? I'm like, it's for kids. I don't dance. I don't want to do that. And then sure enough, a mutual friend of ours, Ryan McGinn, was like, hey, for, a little bit of money, I'll make all your videos and you don't have to do anything. And it was like, all right, for that amount of money, I'm just going to let you do it. And it was like, all of a sudden, boom, it kind of started growing. And now I'm like, yeah, I'm on TikTok and I'm killing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you just got to be willing to sort of take that risk and step outside of your box in order to be uncomfortable. All right, Brock. So tell everybody out there, we're wrapping things up here. What is your best piece of, but actually, hang on a second. What happened to the podcast? Brock, what happened to the podcast, man?
So yeah, me and John, we have a podcast called the Buttoned Up Podcast. We've had you on the show. Really fun. But so John has like 16 kids. He's like a partner in Strix. He's got the Cavalier. He's very busy. For a while, I was also very busy. I was working with Peter Manning. I have my stuff going on. I had a crazy move last year, a crazy stressful move. And we just got to the point where like, let's just hit pause on this for a while, because it was fun, but it wasn't a business. We weren't making any money. It wasn't growing that much. It was just fun. And I would like to start it up again in the future, but I don't want to I want to do it right. Like, I want to have the time to like research the guest and ask questions and stuff. So I love the format. I listen to podcasts all the time. So maybe we'll boot it up in the future.
All right. That sounds good. All right. Now back to my question. Somebody's out there thinking about maybe someday, starting a business. Where would you say they start if they have, maybe an idea? Do you think a website is a good place to start? Or where would you recommend somebody sort of dive in if somebody's thinking about being an entrepreneur?
So I still believe in websites. I actually just bought another site that's all about watches. So I still think there's a lot of money to be made in
What's
written
the
content.
domain?
It's called the slenderwrist.com.
Ooh.
Yeah.
About small wrist dudes?
It kind of, yeah. It's kind of like the
Okay.
Entrepreneur, sort of has a niche, but then also like general content. It already has traffic, like, and I'm gonna apply my process to it. I think it's gonna be a really big site.
Wait,
So that's
was it
one.
an existing site or is it something that you recently,
It's
it
an
was
existing
already,
site. Yeah. So basically there's a guy, this guy named Alessandro Perta, and he's has a YouTube channel called Time Squared. Really cool guy, really knowledgeable about watches. He had a website called The Slender Wrist and a YouTube channel, the same name. He basically decided he didn't want to do blogging anymore, just wanted to focus on YouTube. So he changed his YouTube channel name. And I've been telling him for like months, I was like, dude, when you're ready to sell your site, I'll buy it. And he was finally ready a few months ago. So I just got that, and I'm really excited about that. So I'm firm believer in websites. I think it's a
so,
great
okay. So
business.
ready. You don't have to tell, but okay. So I own the domain enemy.com. I paid $43,700 for that. How much did you buy the slenderwrist.com for?
I bought it for about 28,000.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Good for him. Good for you. So
Yeah.
you're all in. You're going for it.
Yeah. I mean, my sort of like midterm goal is I'm thinking about selling the modestman.com website and focusing on this new website and YouTube and kind of, changing YouTube just my name. And so it'd be more of like a general personal brand channel, I guess.
I love that.
Um,
Do you think there's somebody that would buy the modestman.com as it is?
there are, I've actually I've heard
Really?
from a lot of potential buyers. Yeah.
Anything like really kind of interesting?
There is, there is some interesting stuff, and multiples are going up on websites right now. So it seems like a really good time to sell. Next year might even be a better time. um, so that's kind
Really?
of, yeah.
No way, Brock. This is awesome. I am so excited. So okay, so do you think it's probably gonna happen?
I don't know. I'm waiting on, I'm actually, it's a funny time. I'm going through a valuation process right now with a potential buyer. Um, I don't know if it's quite there yet because it's growing. Like the site has grown a lot in the past year. Like traffic is like way up. So, part of me is like, I'll just ride this out for a little while. But for the right price, I would do it now and, just have like, have a little cash in the bank. I mean, it's a good business, but like part of me wants like a little bit of a war chest and just to be able to like do other things eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I'm thinking about. I don't know if I'd recommend that anybody starts a website from scratch unless they sort of know what they're doing. They have a little bit of a background in SEO, or social media. I think that YouTube, TikTok are great platforms. Instagram, take it or leave it. um, but I kind of recommend like doing what makes sense for you. So like if you hate writing, you love being in front of the camera, YouTube. If you're camera shy and you love writing and are willing to learn about SEO, start a blog,
Andy at Primer.
Andy, perfect example. Great website.
Great website. Hates the camera.
But his videos are so good too. Have you
I
seen his
know.
videos?
I have. No, and Barron's another one, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Baron,
so
he's like up against YouTube a little bit, but he is putting in more effort, and Effortless Gems putting in more effort. And I think he could be big on YouTube too. But he has
so
a
do
very
I.
healthy website business.
Yeah, no, and that's phenomenal. Congratulations. That you got to keep me posted on the website potential sale. One of do you remember Tristano or no Tristano from the Urban Gentry?
Mm-hmm.
He had I don't know what the details are. I don't know what happened, but I do know that a big company in Philadelphia actually went in and basically bought his YouTube channel, and he, it's great. I mean, congratulations. That's exciting. I think that as an entrepreneur, I think everybody romanticizes this idea of an exit, right? You build
Mm-hmm.
something and you're able to, build value and then sell it to somebody. I think that's something that I think is incredibly exciting. And I know Antonio is wanting to do that at some point too. He's hoping, with all of the content and articles and SEO that somebody would be interested. But it's because yours was specific. It sounds like that is why somebody is interested in your website, possibly.
Well, it's not so there are like, strategic buyers, which would be like a J. Crew would buy a men's style blog. But most of the people that I've heard from so far are small media companies. So they're people who they're companies who have a portfolio of websites. So basically they're just looking for a website that is generating passive income, and they're going to add it to their portfolio. They already have writers and everything. And that's mostly who I've heard from. if I got a good offer, I might go to some fashion brands and, see if someone else wanted to buy it. Cause if I were running like, I don't know, even like an Ashton or Peter Manning or even a bigger company, I think that'd be a smart move, to buy up some blogs and kind of remove all the ads and put ads to your stuff and links to
Yeah.
your stuff. Um, I think that'd be a really smart move. So that's one option too.
Excellent. Brock, any
Yeah.
final words to the gentleman out there to follow you or any place to go? We're going to link to everything down below. It's themodestman.com and the Modest Man on YouTube. Anywhere else? What else? Hold on. What else is going on with you? Anything else in the future other than this? I guess we kind of talked about it. The slenderwrist.com.
Yeah, that's what I'm really excited about. Like, just I love watches and I've gotten more into them. So having a place to like do all that content. Um, I'm enjoying YouTube now. Like, YouTube's an emotional roller coaster. When it's up, I'm in a great mood. It's down, I'm depressed. So it's
I'm
you
about
know
to jump off a building today, as a matter of fact. Yes,
oh
I know that. I know.
yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's volatile. It's volatile. So I'm glad I have like some stable income elsewhere. But yeah, just I'm trying to make good videos. I don't put out a lot of stuff, but I'm trying to make everyone like really good. I want it to 3 years later, I want it to still be a good video. So yeah, check that out. And no, otherwise, man, just thanks for having me. Again, thanks for being in my life. Been a great friend over the years, and I appreciate it.
No, Brock, thank you so much. Guys, if you want to go check out Brock's stuff, which I highly recommend you do, go to themodestman.com, go to The Modest Man on YouTube, or theslenderwrist.com, which is exciting. And I can't wait to go because I also have a slender wrist and I also love watches. Brock, thank you so much, man. Continued this success. Please keep me updated on your potential sale of your business. That is amazing and super exciting. And the hardest thing is going to be, because you've built your identity around this, the hardest
Mhm.
thing for you is going to be, okay, here you go, toss somebody the keys and move forward. But you know what? Sometimes, you got to do what you got to do. And
Mm.
I wish you nothing but the best. That's incredible. Congratulations, Brock.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. See you next week.